So to install the package project template, you can click on the Packages tab and then Install. And then in the search bar under Packages, type Project Template and press Enter when it auto-completes, and then click Install. And in the console, you can see as it's installing, and when it's done, you'll have the little ticky again. After you've installed the project template package, you can bring it into your R session using the library command and providing the name project template. And that will load the package. If you look under your packages list, you can see a check mark beside project template, meaning that it has been loaded. So once you have installed and loaded the project template package, you can create your project folder. But before you do that, you want to make sure that you're in the right place in RStudio on your computer that you want your folder to go. So go to the top menu bar, click on Session, and drop down to Set Working Directory and choose Directory. And now you can choose where that file is going to be created. So I'm going to put it in a folder GitHub in this R workshop folder that I've already created, but you can just put it wherever you want this project to live. And click on Open. And now when I create the project, it's going to be saved in that folder. So now that I'm in the right place, I can finally create my project, and I'll do this by using the command create project. And I could just press enter now, and that will create an unnamed project. But I also, if I want to, can provide a project name. So I'm going to call this R Workshop. And you also can choose a template that your project is going to be created under. And you would do this by saying template equals, and in this case, we want a minimal template. So I'll put in minimal in quotations, and now press enter. Now that I've created my project, I can see in my file pane over here that shows the folder that I'm currently in, my working directory. There's a new folder called R Workshop. And if I click on this, it'll show me the new folders that Project Template has set up for my project. And I now have my project folder and the folders within that set up. But to make this an actual R project, we need to say File at the top, drop down to New Project. And because this folder already exists, we'll choose Existing Directory and browse for this R Workshop directory that is our project folder, say Open, and Create Project. And now in that folder, we have a new file, which is our .r project file. So within our project folder, to change the settings of project template and what it automatically does, you click on the config folder and then global.dcf to open the settings of project template for this project. And you can see that the data loading is set to true. So that means that project template will try to load every file that's in your data folder. You might want to set that to false if your files aren't clean yet, or leave it as true depending on what you have in your data folder. If you have a folder under the data folder that you want it to ignore, I usually have a raw folder inside my data folder where I keep all of the raw data. You can say /raw under data ignore, and it won't load anything within that folder. You also want to change cache loading to false, just so that you can't break your code as you're working on it. and have it seem like it's still running because it's loading an output file from your cache. So for now, leave that as false. And munging doesn't matter if that's true or false right now if you don't have anything in your munge folder, but you could just set it to false just in case to minimize the amount that is loading if you happen to save something in there. And then load libraries, you want to set to true. And underneath in the libraries line of this file, you'll list whatever libraries you want it to load. So it automatically is already loading some that you'll need, but you can definitely add to this list if there's other libraries that you want to use. After you've changed all the settings that you want to, you can click Save right here to save the changes to your options in ProjectTemplate. And now we're ready to actually start our coding in our project. So to do this, we're going to make a new file, and there's a drop-down menu in the top left under the File menu here, and just click on RMarkdown, and this will bring up a new RMarkdown file. We'll just leave it as untitled for now and click OK. And I'm going to minimize the console for now because we're not going to work in the console, but it's still down here if you want to open it up again. And when you create a new RMarkdown document, it has this information already in it, explaining a little bit about this format and what it can be used for. It has a lot of uses, but the main thing I use it for is just keeping my code organized, because all of the code is in these separate little chunks here, and everything between those chunks of code is whatever you want it to be, text, explanations, whatever. It won't be read by R as code. The first chunk of code is your setup chunk, and you can see it says our setup in the brackets at the top. And within this chunk, we can add the code that we need to use the ProjectTemplate package. So we, in the session we're working in right now, have already loaded the ProjectTemplate package. But when you close R and open this up next time, it won't be loaded. You'll have to load it again because that's a new R session. So I'm going to add a line of code, library, ProjectTemplate, to load ProjectTemplate. We don't need to run that right now, but we'll need it the next time we open R. And we've already created our project, so now we use the command load project. And this, when we press Control Enter, oh, could not find function. Never mind, it is a new session. So we'll load the ProjectTemplate library first, and then load project. So for running each line of code, you can just put your cursor on that line and press Control Enter. If you want to run more than one, you can highlight them and press Control Enter. And if you want to run a full chunk of code, there's a little play button in the top corner here that you can click for that whole chunk to be run. And after our project is loaded, you can see the config file is in our project now, telling ProjectTemplate what our settings are. And there's a project info file here as well. And below that chunk of code, we have an output with some information that tells us all of the packages that have been attached by ProjectTemplate and what version numbers they are, and if there are any conflicts where two different packages have the same command, and if that happens, which of the two packages is going to take precedence, and when you use that command, which package it's going to come from.